Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2 Friday Fix. We're your hosts, husband and wife team Tracy and Ian, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. Along with our guests, we come together to bring you information, education and knowledge to help you grow your business.
Get ready to laugh, learn and be inspired as we talk to Vicky Poole about the art of successful negotiation. Vicky's got some great stories for us. She'll be sharing her thoughts and insights, and she'll have you glued to your headphones. So sit back and relax and let's start this journey together. This is In Business Talks 2 Friday Fix, your ultimate destination for business insights from our business friends. So welcome to our Friday Fix today. We have Vicky Poole with us of Vicky Poole Coaching. So welcome, Vicky.
Welcome, Vicky.
Lovely to see you. And to you.
Okay, so before we start, let's find out a little bit about what Vicky does. So tell us, Vicky, what is it that you do?
So hi everybody, my name is Vicky Poole and I am a communications coach. I help people say what they really mean without being really mean. So what does that actually mean, right? I help people to communicate how it is they're feeling in a non-emotive, non-disruptive way so that they can actually get across and share with the other person what's going on for them right now. And I help people to do this, and I help businesses to do this, both in written and oral forms.
And what are we discussing today then?
We're going to talk about the art of successful negotiation. So, and this must be a problem a lot of people have, isn't it? About being successful in the negotiations. It's all right going off, and ranting about stuff, but it's doing it in a way that you get the results that you want, isn't it? So,
yeah, 100%. And you'd be surprised. This comes up a lot more often than what people would like to admit, because it's always about, I want this. I want to be able to go to the football on Fridays. I want to be able to get the client to agree to my payment terms. I want. And what we are really trying to say there is it's really important for me that insert the thing that you want is achieved because this thing that my underlying need needs to be met. So it's really important for me that my payment terms are met because I've got a wife and 3 kids to feed. It's really important that I get to go to the football on Friday because after the week that I've had, I want some chill out time before the carnage of the wife and the kids and everything starts at the weekend. But we don't actually say those things. We just say the high level thing, the thing that is easy. So the real art of negotiation is understanding the why. So you have a client or you're in a conversation and, you're in a scenario where you're not getting the thing that you want. And you can't really turn around and say, well, why? Why do you want payment terms of 15 days instead of my usual 30? Because the second you say why, you are enticing a combative response.
It's a bit antagonistic.
Yeah.
It is. And it's one of those words that we all have memories of going, are we there yet? No. Why? Because we're still in the car. Why? Because the car is still moving. Why? Can I have some chocolate yet, Mum? No. Why? Because I said so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the second anyone says why, we immediately feel the hair on the back of our neck stand up and we start responding to the why rather than this person doesn't understand my point. So then when we start responding to this person needs further understanding, or I need to understand more about this other person, then we actually get to understand their underlying need. So we're in a negotiation now, and it's I can't agree to your payment terms of 15 days. What do you say at this point? Because you can't say why. Well, why can't you agree to my payment terms? It's well, what payment terms are your standard? My standard payment terms are 45 days. Okay. Well, that's really going to cause an issue for me with my underlying suppliers because I'll have to pay for the equipment before you pay me. So then I'm going to be running at a cash loss, which is going to have implications for the cash flow within my business. So it would be really good for me if we could negotiate and agree on payment terms of net 30. Well, I can't do that moving forward. So I'm being really difficult now.
Yeah.
So, because most companies who are working with an SMB, a small medium business, have to be flexible on payment terms, or like to be flexible on payment terms. Now, if you're chatting with someone who is overly difficult or has set payment terms, or they're a bigger company and there's a bigger process behind this, which is usually company sizes of 200 or over, as in sort of fit in like the higher bracket of the small medium business, they have a business process. And it's our finance team adhere to, net 45. And if we need to change on a more regular basis, then, it causes issues within my business. So then it becomes a conversation of the two businesses interacting rather than the people involved.
All right. Yeah. You're taking out the personal element there. Yeah.
You're taking it out. So immediately you are reducing and smoothing the combativeness of the conversation. And it's the right then, okay. So how about, and this is probably one of the first things that I would pull in with my background in sales, it's the, okay, well, can I invoice you in advance? So if it's going to take your organization, notice I flipped to organization rather than you. So this is what I do. If I invoice you in advance for January, February, I invoice you for February, March, April. That way, there is money in my account for the services that I'm going to be providing to you. So I've got the money to pay the subcontractors, which means you, Mr. Company, get the services that you want at a price point we've agreed, and we are all cash flow positive. How does that sound? They could say yes or no to that. So most companies would negotiate from this point to say, well, can you invoice me a month in advance rather than a quarter?
Yeah.
Now, why would you always go bigger? If you go bigger than the thing that you're asking for, it always gives you a chance to backtrack.
Yeah.
So if you were in that negotiation and you'd say, well, can I invoice you a month in advance? And the client said yes, you would immediately start thinking, damn,
I could have done it.
Another word.
Yeah.
I should have asked for 2 months or 3 months. I've missed a trick there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you ask for 3 months and the client says, no, I can't do that, or no, finance won't allow that, then it always allows you to offer a smaller alternative. It's actually something that, so this process of offering something big and then reducing the offer to something small is actually a really great sales tactic that's used on pretty much every website out there. So yes, you can have the new phone that you really, really want, insert brand and model of your choice. It's going to cost you £900. What?
Yeah.
Or you can have the model that's slightly older at 6 months for £1.50. And the reason why they say this and they demonstrate the significant value is because the company's going to have a lot of stock that they're going to need shifting, because once the stock is gone, they can then promote their new product at a higher price. And they can only do that when their stocks of the old model have been depleted. So there's a lot of research and background about offering something higher and then reducing it. Because the second that you reduce, you've then demonstrated some wiggle room.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
So now that we're in this negotiation point, and you've agreed a point that both companies are happy with, that's when you write it down. So it then becomes, all right then, Mr. Customer, so we've agreed that we're going to invoice in advance. I'm just going to make a note of this because it's important for me to be understood and I understand you. So what is the language that we are going to use so that we both know what this is moving forward? Oh, I don't know, Vicky, shall we just say invoice 1 month in advance for services to be rendered under the contract? Great. So hang on, I'm going to take 2 seconds now to write this down and actually write down the exact words.
Yeah.
So in this space of the negotiation process, what we're actually doing is connecting with the customer. We are getting them to tell us the words that they want to see. Now, this is really important for 2 things. One, they're telling us the wording so that they can't come back and say that they're not happy with the wording.
Yeah.
What could happen is at the end of the meeting, after you share the notes, they go through to their management or their legal teams to say, this is what we've agreed. and someone higher up the food chain wants to revise the wording. So it's Ian, you would say to me, thank you very much, Vicky. I've shared the information that we discussed with Tracy and she has some further thoughts. She would like the wording to be blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yep. And for our listeners today, notice the reference to the food chain. It's the way it works in every marriage, right? Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. So then the revision of the wording comes back. And then because the client is making a proposed alteration to the words, guess what? You then, as the supplier, get to say yes or no.
Yeah, you've got the power back, haven't you? Yeah.
We then have the power.
Yeah.
When we're looking at negotiation, I've intimated this several times now. The successful art, or the art of successful negotiation, I think you described, you said, Tracy, is understanding the client's needs, not wants. So you unpick the want to get to the need, and then we are then able to respond to it. So going back to Tracy changing the wording, it's like, I now have the power to respond. And it's so I'm just double checking that, we're happy that the invoice goes out on the first Friday of the month, because that way it allows the finance team to correctly process it in alignment with our BACS process. Yes, that's fine. I will get someone from my company to interface with Tracy and her team to understand how the invoice needs to be sent so that it can expedite your processing. So then it becomes an action rather than a negotiation piece.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone's listening and says, yeah, that's really great, sharing all this wonderful information, we're 12 minutes in, this is really helpful, but what does it actually mean for me in the moment? Because Tracy, I know you and I know how your mind works, and you're going to say something to me, something along the lines of, this is all fair and well doing it retrospectively, but what can you do when you're in a negotiation and it's not going the way that you want it to, and you're getting very emotionally involved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pulling it
I
back.
can see that on your face, Tracy.
Yeah.
So the second we start bringing emotion in is the second that we start doing this wonderful thing called knee-jerk reactions. And the second we start knee-jerking, we start upsetting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And that's when we do things like, well, why does it need to be net 45 and not net 30? I don't understand, right? So we write down our questions. We come prepared. So there's a very old mantra: if you prepare to fail, then if you fail to prepare, then you prepare.
Yeah.
You see what I
That
did?
must be even older, that one, yeah.
I did there. Yeah. So we look at the things that are important to us. So anyone who works in sales or has spent time in sales will tell you that you write down the questions that you want to ask the client. Yeah. I want to know when I can deliver your product. I want to know when you're going to pay me. I want to know who I'm going to be interfacing with. What a lot of small businesses don't write down, and what a lot of junior salespeople who are new to the business in sub 3 years don't write down, is the stuff that's important and why. So I can ask myself why it's important for me. So I want to get paid on net 15 because I have my subcontractors to pay at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I'm in that emotional state and someone says to me, I don't agree to your payment terms of net 15, our standards are net 45, you can go back to your pen and paper, your notepad with you who've brought with you so that you can be fully prepared, and you can say, our business has subcontractors that we need to pay on a net 30 basis. And you have actually, if you're a bit like me, I actually script it. So I have the script that I then read from, because it's then not something that I have spoken. It could be my own words, but it's written down. I have it written down. And then I read from the script, and you can then say, I thought this was going to come up because I read your contract, and I went and I got the response from our finance team, which is another great way of shifting it from being personal to company.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now, people from the client side who are there in a negotiation piece, they are going to be seasoned negotiators. They do this every single day with 15 different suppliers, And you, Mr. Company, may do it once or twice a month because you have a lot of contracts that you just cycle over, and when they renew, you in contracts, blah, 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 blah. So you are automatically going to be somewhat on the back foot, unless you are a salesperson specifically for this company and this is your prime focus. So what I'm trying to say is you take the time to understand the want and the need of your own company. So you go in armed.
Yeah.
And we're all talking here about being understood, both myself and my company, so that I can understand my prospect and their needs as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And I also noticed that I'm talking about this, I haven't really finished covering that conversation, that question about being responsible to the needs and being emotive and responding to the feelings. So in that moment, some really great stock questions that you can say, or stock responses, I should say, that you can give in that moment, where it's the, oh, wow, so I really thought that this could be a negotiation topic. I hadn't quite realized how important and how valuable this is for you. So I feel a little bit unprepared. Can I take a moment to think?
Yeah.
Which is essentially putting a pin in a conversation that allows you and the client to come back to it later. Another good one is if you are feeling particularly anxious about something that's just been said, or you don't know how it's going to impact the wider discussion, you can always excuse yourself to go to the toilet, because everyone always has brilliant ideas when they're sitting on the throne. And it also buys you 5 minutes to think. And the way that I have traditionally introduced this is oh, wow, I can see this is going to be a longer conversation. And I don't want to take a pee during our conversation. So can I quickly nip out now so that I'm refreshed and we can continue when I come back?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really nice way of being able to do it, because very few people are going to say, no, you can't go and pee. More often than not, because no bugger wants to do the cleanup. Right? So then you've got yourself a bit of time. If you're finding that in this moment, and you can't excuse yourself from the room, and you find it going tit for tat, well, I can't do this on a Monday because, you are not going to send over the information to me until 6 o'clock on the Friday. That's not enough time for my team. Well, I need it on the Monday, and the situation is escalating. A really great way to smooth this over is to say, okay, so clearly this is something that needs to come back to. I'm conscious that we have other items that we need to negotiate, that we need to talk about. Can we put a pin in this? And we talk about the other items, because I'm conscious of everyone's time today. And whilst, every item point is valuable to be discussed and agreed, I think it's also important that we talk about the easy wins so that we can get those firmed up and agreed, and we can come back to some of the sticking points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And feel free to save this podcast to your favorites.
Yeah, can I ask you, just as an aside, without naming names, of course, can you recall what's one of the trickiest sort of negotiation you've found yourself involved in? Is there anything that springs to mind as being like a difficult one that you had to really work out? Or if I put you on the spot, I apologise. If you haven't got one, that's fine. It just struck me then.
There are sticking points in everyone. In every contract that you negotiate, there's always going to be some sticking points. The most important thing to remember is that there's stuff that you can flex on, and there's stuff that are really hard nosed.
Yeah.
And I can talk about a personal one, or I can talk about a business one. Which one would you like me to talk about?
Here
we go on this spot. Okay, well, let's see if we can do both. We can do both. All right. So, this contract was when I was working for a rather large company.
Yeah.
The contract was in the region of 35 million.
Well,
over 5 years, so rather sizable. And we had been told that we were losing the business. But because it's me, the contract is never lost until they've signed with the other party. And even then, it's still a bit of a grey area. Did I say that? I did. And so I'm in this, it's called a supplier handout meeting. when you get to this company size, you have supplier handouts so that the exiting supplier can share information securely with the incoming supplier. And because I'm me, and at this particular point in my life, I was unduly antagonistic, and yet I have undergone the personal growth, so I can admit that. Thank you. I would highlight some elements in that meeting that I knew was going to be contentious points for the incoming supplier.
Yeah.
So, am I saying that I made it difficult? Yes. Yes, I am. Yes, I did. Because this is the negotiation piece that we're talking about, successful negotiation. I was there to hand over the account to the incoming supplier, but at the same time, I had an underlying objective to retain the account.
Yeah.
Well, you know how when you are aware of your competition, you are also aware of their flaws.
Yes.
Do your SWOT analysis. So every single point that I had that I could demonstrate that it was a weak point for them, I lingered on it to the point that the customer with whom I was there in support of got up and walked out the room. And at this point, it was very clear to me and the incoming supplier that I had intentionally, what's the word I can use on this podcast? Screwed them over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, after this, I got a job offer from them. So, we are, maybe a month, 6 weeks into this process. The fact that we have lost this contract is now reverberated across my business. And I've just had this meeting. Well, the customer phones me up and says, I can't handle this incoming supplier. They're a bunch of numpties. That's not the word that they use, but we're going to use it, because we're chatting with polite people here today. Is your offer of 35 million still on the table? And I said no.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I got another 2.5 million from them. Now that was a far easier conversation than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So this goes back to the preparation.
Yeah.
When you go back and you look at what's important to you in your business and why, and then you're looking at the client, what's important to their business and why.
Yeah.
It's far easier to negotiate yourself out of difficult situations. So at this contract in particular, I was in telecoms and I was providing internet services or wide area network services to this supplier, this company. And of course, one of the biggest things for them is continuity of service, being able to run card payments across their network. Well, that's intelligent information or IP information, intellectual property that's specific to me and mine. I'm not going to tell you, Mr. Customer, what the config is because I can't share that information with you.
Yeah.
So it's responsible of the incoming supplier to do this. Well, you can't run two different card manufacturers over the same network because it just won't authenticate. There is the technology now to do that. At the time, it wasn't. So I would find a sticking point that was painful and I would every so often pour a little bit of salt in the wound and pick the scab.
Yes.
So yes, I was antagonistic. Yes, I was a bit of a bitch. Did I get what I wanted? Yes. Was the client happy with me personally? Yes. Was the incoming supplier happy with me? No. Did I get a job offer? Yes. Did I also use that job offer to get an increased salary at the company that I was working with? I can't possibly comment on that, but I would leave it to the listeners here to decide. Yeah.
But deservedly so. If you did, I would imagine it must have been well pleased. I would have thought. Yeah.
Well, yes. The personal contract that we'll just very quickly talk about is everyone's buying a car, right? Everyone's bought a car. My partner that I spent a lot of years with, sadly we're no longer together. Although I have met my husband, so story ended rather happily. He had found this car. He'd always wanted this car. It was a Skoda Octavia DRS Mark III. And it looked gorgeous. It had a few miles on the clock. It was secondhand. And he wanted that vehicle. Me, I'm happy. I'm a Geordie lass, right? So I'm happy with a car that runs from A to B. It can have rust and a squeak. It doesn't matter. As long as it has a gearbox and some brakes, I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And my partner at the time wanted this car. Well, I'm a salesperson, right? So I go in there fully prepared. So the test drive is at 9:00 in the morning. He has told me that he wants this car and I want an easy life. So I'm there. I go with the anticipation to buy the vehicle, right?
Yep.
So I'm there at 9. Test drive. We both agree that he likes the car, that we like the car. And then he leaves. My partner leaves.
All right.
And the sales guy, is like, I'm not entirely sure what's going on right now. Like half of my sale has left. I don't really know what to do. Was this a power play? Yes.
Put him on the back foot.
Strategies, tactics, and tips. They're all coming out. Take note, people. Take note. So I then start to negotiate the car. And the guy's giving me the spiel. Oh, we'll put new tyres on the car. It's got a full tank of fuel. It's been cleaned and polished. All the stuff that's not really important to the Geordie lass. I'm looking for a gearbox and some wheels. I'm not looking for a posh car to make it look nice.
Yeah.
Right? He then starts talking about tax and insurance and all this kind of wonderful stuff. And, we're about 2.5 hours into this now. So we've had the test drive, come back about 10. So it's now 12:30. Me, I'm prepared. My Domino's pizza arrives. The guy says to me, can I have a slice? I say no. I said, look, can I have a break for my lunch? And I say no. Otherwise, someone else is going to get your sale. Another sales guy. Well, of course, he works on commission, doesn't he? So he wants to be safe.
Yeah.
God, am I sharing everybody my tactics? I'm never going to be able to negotiate a sale again.
We'll keep it a secret, don't worry. We won't tell you.
Put it under a pseudonym. We won't call it Vicky Poole.
So then, I go, well, I think I need to just have a quick once over the car again. Can you come with us? He goes, can I get a colleague to come with you? And I said, no, because we've been talking about this car now for nearly 3 hours. I want to go back and I want to feel the girl that I'm buying. That came out so wrong. I want to go and feel the car that I'm buying, right? So I take my Domino's pizza with us, because people make Domino's pizza because it's gorgeous. And I'm out having a wander around the car again. And what am I doing here? I'm looking for other points that, I could potentially negotiate about. At this point, I'm talking about him, his wife, the 2 kids, she's pregnant with another one. And I'm finding out lots of little bits about the car. And, I'm thinking to myself, there's something here that I haven't remembered to talk about. So I'm out there looking at the car, thinking, looking at this car is going to remind me what it is. It's going to remind me what it is. It didn't. So we had a 20-minute walk around the car. We come back in. And I can't remember this thing. I can't remember it. So we're having a bit more of a chat. We agree. I let him have 1 slice of pizza because I'm feeling a bit generous. And I'm starting to think, I forgot something. And we're just about to shake. I can see his hand across the table. Literally, you can see the hand getting ready to shake. And, the salesman just been in twice. I've had the price of the car that was $13.50 or $13,499 dropped to a little over £10,000. So I've been there a while. I've done a good job. I've had a free service pulled in as well. So I've got the service and warranty for 12 months. I've got the annual service. I've got the next MOT. And I can't get any more. So I put my hand out and shake. And I was like, oh, hang on. Those new tyres that you've put on the car? They're W's, aren't they? Well, yeah, they're W colours. No, for this model, because it's got 320 brake horse on it's been remapped. It's 320 brake horse. That needs to be an X. I'm sure of it. Cracked open the website and I was like, oh, well, that's going to cost me £250 a corner. So that's $1,000. Well, I can't buy this car for just under $9,000, just under $10,000, when I need to spend $1,000 on tyres. And it's illegal to drive. You're trying to sell me an illegal vehicle. Oh my God. Let's just say I got the tyres I wanted on the car. Well, I didn't get the tyres I wanted on the car because they didn't have any X's and we'd walked in, so we needed a car. I was like, oh God, right. So I'm going to have to go to Quick Fit or somewhere around the corner to get these tires put on. And because this guy, and I feel really ashamed admitting this, I do. Because this guy hadn't actually double checked and verified that what I was referring to was correct.
Yeah.
It was correct at a time. I'd since kind of done the research again after I got home, after buying the vehicle, and that the restrictions on the tires had been removed. And it only just been removed. It was removed from the 1st of June, I think it was. We're going back several years now, guys. We're going back to like 2008. So, I'm going back a long while now.
Yeah.
That I'd actually realised that I'd shared, what's the correct word? Dormant information or previous information?
Right.
But because the sales guy didn't check and nobody in their company checked that I was present and correct and it was using up-to-date information, I got a further £1,000 knocked off the car.
Wow, that
So
poor
what-
guy.
I bet he went home and laid down in a dark.
Yeah, wouldn't be able to pay his mortgage, feed his kids. Yeah, you really.
So, I spent a bit of time feeling a bit guilty about that. And then I stopped feeling guilty. I stopped feeling guilty for 2 reasons. One, because I had £1,000 extra in my pocket. Always helpful. We went on holiday with that £1,000. And then the second thing is I went in there prepared. We had been looking at this car for some time.
Yeah.
We've been looking at this model. I had my needs, what I wanted and what I needed.
Yeah.
I wanted a car that would make my other half shut up about wanting a new car.
Yeah.
I needed a car that was reliable and that we could afford.
Yeah.
So I had my wants and my needs all listed out. I had my important things about the car. I had my negotiation points. I had the things that I could move on, the things that I couldn't. And I also had a couple of gotchas.
Yeah.
And it's important to know this because when we are ready with our points, we aren't just pulling out the points that we're ready to negotiate. We're pulling out the thought process around why they're important. So instead of saying, well, why is that important for you? We've actually thought about it and we say things that are non-combative. Well, I understand. It's really important for me that my payment terms are 45. Or, it's really important that I sell you the car for more money than what I bought it for because otherwise I'm running at a loss.
Yeah.
It's very important to share that, but also the reason for why. And when we've thought about it, we understand the reason why things are important to us, which means that we structure our conversation using non-combative language. Combative language, which may be the topic of another podcast, we never know. But very, very quickly, it's things that challenge the other person in a way that they are not expecting. Well, why is that important to you? You're asking me to explain to you why something is important. Why can't you just listen to the words that I'm telling you? And you see how we start combating. Or this sounds like a you problem. I tell you what, I actually felt my blood pressure go up 5 points just saying that. Right. So when we are asked the question why, or when we say you to the other person, we are immediately picking a fight. And there are other ways that we can say those things without sparking heart attacks, increased blood pressures, or any negative feeling within the other person. So if anyone wants to know a bit about that or is interested in hearing a bit more, I'm sure Tracy and Ian are going to put my contact details into the comments box underneath so we can all keep in touch and I can share this wonderful, valuable tidbits of information with you.
Thank you.
Invite me back for another podcast.
We certainly will. Yeah.
So you
You know what? It's almost like I led negotiations or been expect things, right? So my name's Vicky Poole. You can catch me at Vicky Poole in LinkedIn. I think I'm the #1 hit in the UK, particularly in the UK, probably around Europe as well. You can catch me at vickypoolecoaching.co.uk. But the thing that I want you to do most of all, and most important, is I want you to comment on this podcast. I want you to tell me what was the most important thing for you, because I listened to this podcast and I'm going to want to hear from each and every one of you who's listened today about what the thing that you found valuable.
And cool, lovely. Thank you very much. Some good stuff today. Enjoy that.
We're expecting loads of downloads.
Yeah, I'm sure this will fly. This will fly off the shelves. This one, Vicky. Thank you.
You're
for
very
that.
welcome.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
They're really informative. Thank you very much for joining us today, and have a great weekend.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. We'd love to see you at one of our networking events. Be sure to check out our website for details. If you'd like to learn more about networking, why not take a look at our networking know-how courses designed to help you improve your networking skills.
We also have a series of books available on Amazon, such as How to Improve Your Business Networking Skills, 52 Tips to Help You with Your Networking. Our Notably Networking one-to-one notebook, which is a place to keep all the notes from those follow-up one-to-ones, and not forgetting our 90 Days to Your Success journal, where you can plan, set and plot the actions you will take to achieve your goals.
We hope you'll join us again next time, and don't forget to rate, review and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening, we really appreciate it, and until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together we are in business.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.